Lavdi.
Hi,
How's it going?
it's okay.
Yeah.
Slow, just at home most of the time because
Mhm.
COVID and not really able to go out as people tend to stay away and isolated kind of. So,
Yeah, yeah. I know that I am getting pretty tired of that isolation, so I'm sure everybody is feeling that right now. Um,
yeah,
which reminds me, I just read, didn't was it the Prime Minister of Kosovo just say that he tested positive for COVID?
yeah, it's the prime minister.
Okay, yeah. Interesting. So how is Kosovo handling the coronavirus?
It's not handling.
Not
Unfortunately,
handling?
it's not good. We've had more than 300 deaths now. So, and I'm not sure. Maybe I should check these statistics. I'm not sure how many, the total number of infected people, but it's quite a lot for the small country as we are of like less than 2 million.
Yeah.
And lately, like in the last week or so, we have always had like double-digit deaths. Like, yeah, in the last 24 hours, we've had 12 people who died. So,
Okay.
and then one day we had 16, another day we had 15. So it's like every day we have people dying. It is true that we have more people who have gotten better, but still it's quite a huge number of infected.
More people that have what? Sorry, there was a little notification. I missed that.
Who got better.
Is there like a policy for like wearing masks or is there a curfew or anything like that going on?
Yeah, well, we do have a policy that we have to wear masks when we are in not only in public spaces, but basically anywhere outside of your house.
Mhm.
And we do have a curfew now, which is from 10:30 p.m. to 5 a.m. Not throughout the country. It was only in some like hot spots in some of the cities. However, it's not really working out because even if like we do have the police officers who might stop you if you are on the streets without wearing a mask, but they don't have the constitutional right to give you a fine for that.
Mhm.
So what our parliament is trying to do now is trying to pass a bill which will be the basis for whatever fees or whatever penalties for people who don't act by the rules. So, but it's not effective because there are so many people who don't really believe in it. There
Okay.
are people who think that there is no virus and who are very vocal about it. And I'm not talking only for like random people, but there are some like public figures, some singers, and who unfortunately have lots of followers and who are spreading this rumor. And then there are people who at the end they blame the medical people, the doctors and the nurses. But if you have like 200 people coming at your hospital daily, you don't really have time to care for everybody. And
Right.
it seems like they don't have enough resources. There is lack of oxygen in some hospitals. There is lack of beds. There are not enough nurses and doctors, and even doctors have died from COVID-19. So as long as people don't believe that there is virus, then they just go out like that. No measures taken, and
Right. So those are like Kosovo people in Kosovo who don't believe, you're saying.
in Kosovo as well because of all that propaganda. And it's not only in Kosovo, but there has been this YouTube video that was circulating how everything is connected to 5G and Bill
Oh,
Gates and and things like that. Like, but the misfortune is that people only start believing it, like really believing it, when they have some family member infected.
right.
But we should not wait until some family member get infected because that's too much. Like we cannot wait for it to have like some uncle or aunt or a father or mother because then it's too late.
Right. Right. Yeah. Well, so tell me a little bit about you run, well, maybe like a blog or a social media page called Kosovo Girl Travels. And so tell me a little bit about that, and maybe that parlays into what you miss most about sort of pre-COVID era, which I'm sure is a bunch of travel that you don't get to do right
Yeah. Yeah, I do run this travel blog, which I have titled Kosovo Girl Travels, because I mean the reason why this name is because I'm from Kosovo, which limits me into where I can travel, and because I'm a woman, which also limits me, or not limits, but just it's more difficult than being a man and traveling because of all the safety and cultural and traditional reasons behind it. So I started this more than 3 years ago now, and initially I started it to provide more information on Kosovo, as there is lack of information about where Kosovo is and what Kosovo is and how the things are there and what to see and what to do. And I saw that lots of travelers just skipped Kosovo even when they were in Balkans. Like they would come visit Serbia, North Macedonia, go to Albania, Montenegro, and then there is only this little spot that they didn't come because of all that I would say probably misinformation, that they think it's still a war-torn country and it's still unsafe, and also lots of propaganda out there that if you come to Kosovo you will never be able to go to Serbia, which is untrue.
now.
So that's why. And yeah, I do miss traveling. It's been since March when I had my last trip. I went to Zambia at that time.
Okay, nice.
So but I had like a little, not a plan itself, but some kind of idea to go to Ethiopia for a week during April when the Easter was, but then COVID happened and I got stuck initially in South Sudan, where I worked for like 4 months and a few more days, and then eventually I could manage to come back home. So it's different. I still spend most of the time at home, but it's still different because it's my home. So it's my home, it's my family. And if I want to go to a coffee or a restaurant, I can still do it with a mask on. But
Yeah. So who do you work for that you were in South Sudan?
I work with the UN mission there. I'm a UN volunteer. I went there mid-November 2018, so it will be 2 years soon in November.
Mhm.
I didn't think it would be that fast, but time has gone so fast. Uh, I went there without knowing much about South Sudan. I only knew that it is a younger country than Kosovo is. So until South Sudan became independent, Kosovo was the youngest country in the world. And then South Sudan came. So now we are second. I didn't know much, and it was interesting. And I went with the idea that I'll go there, I'll try it, and if I really don't like it, I always have the quit option, so I will just quit. Although I'm not a quitter, so but it was interesting going to a country without knowing much, without even being able to find people who know about it. So I tried I'm a member of all these Facebook groups, and I try to find people who have been there or who are there, or who know someone who has been there or something, and I couldn't find many people. Like I think I found only like 3-4 people that I could ask, and they had been like 2 years ago, or
Okay.
only one of them was like she had been there recently, so could provide me a little bit more information, but it still was not enough.
And what were you doing over there? Like, what was the role, the job?
My work is office work, so I don't really get to travel a lot within South Sudan, and the annual leave days I have, I try to explore more of the world.
Right,
It's like
right, right, right.
like I am there, so it kind of doesn't make sense to use my annual leave days to still travel within South Sudan. And we do have this what we call rest and recuperation, but this is only valid when you go outside of the country because of the situation as it is. We do get like 7 days in total to get out of the country every 1.5 months.
Okay. So your passport isn't always accepted places, is that correct?
It's not.
Yeah. Is it like accepted anywhere?
It is, but there are countries that they do not even allow me to apply for a visa
Okay.
uh, on a Kosovo passport. And there is this case that happened with Zimbabwe in March. So I applied in their e-visa system, and Kosovo is there. I got the visa, and then I'm crossing their land border from Zambia to Zimbabwe through the Victoria Falls, and then they don't let me in, although I had the visa in my hand,
Oh my
issued
goodness.
by their visa system, by their own government. The reason is they don't recognize Kosovo, and well, they blame the IT guy for having Kosovo there. so, so
Interesting.
there are cases like that. But then there are cases that they do accept, but it's a difficult process to get a visa.
Yeah.
And then there are cases that like with the Schengen countries, the EU member states, most of them, not because not all of them are part of the Schengen zone. It takes a lot of time to plan even a weekend, a long weekend in one of the EU member countries,
Right.
in one of the Schengen area, because you have to prepare. First, you have to schedule a visa appointment, and for that, then you have to prepare a bunch of papers, like an application, and then pictures, and then bank statement, and then employment contract, and then birth certificate,
Right.
family certificate, accommodation, travel, like ticket, flight ticket or car or whatever. It's like uh, you need to take some days off to get all the papers in place, and you need to spend money even without having stepped a foot in that other country.
Right. I truly hate that for you and for everyone who has to deal with that, because that is one of the things I hold so dear in my life, is this idea of like impulsivity and spontaneity, especially with trips. Like me and some of my friends here, and granted, this is like a little less, but we'll just be like, oh, let's go to the beach, or oh, let's go to this other state. Which, it's not traveling across country borders, but it also would, these places are like 4 hours away, like Greece is. And so that
Yeah,
really sucks. Yeah.
basically, like my last experience with the Greek liaison office, it's not an embassy because Greece does not recognize Kosovo, so they don't have an embassy here.
Mm.
It was like I scheduled my visa appointment in around mid-November for February.
Oh, geez.
And then I go to the embassy, whatever, to the liaison office for my interview, and they make me feel like a criminal with all those questions. And I've been to many countries, and I had been to Greece also before,
Mm.
and I had a US valid visa for 3 years, and they asked me all these questions, and I was getting angry. And I mean, you should not be getting angry because you're at the embassy, whatever, but I was getting angry at how kind of weird questions they were asking. They were asking me like, why do you have this money in your account? I'm like, it's my account.
Yeah.
Why you didn't? I was telling them that I plan to go also to Croatia after Greece, and they were like, so why you didn't apply in Croatia? Like, why are you applying here? I was like, because I already had this appointment scheduled, and also you are all Schengen, so like I can go to both countries on a visa. So what happens? They give me a 3 months visa, and it's like with 21 valid days that I can spend in the EU countries.
Okay.
And I'm like, I have a 3 years long valid US visa. You think I'll stay in Greece? Like, if I want to stay somewhere, I'll just stay in the US, not in Greece.
Yeah.
but but yeah, and then after that, I moved to South Sudan, and I kind of have stopped even planning to apply for a Schengen visa because I don't want to waste my time and energy and my nerves on dealing with embassies. So I'm just checking African countries which first accept my passport, because that's also an issue. And second, I can get a visa on arrival, or I can apply for e-visa, and then I
Yeah.
can go. There are so many countries I can go to, so why stick at these kind of difficult and
Yeah.
fancy ones?
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah. Well, so talk to me a little bit more about Kosovo as its own country. I know that was relatively recently. And then I was looking online today. I guess the talks between Kosovo leadership and Serbian leadership are currently happening, I think like this month, to sort of discuss this is what I have read, and so like tell me if this is correct or not, because I know that sometimes it's not. But like, so Serbia doesn't acknowledge Kosovo as having like broken off and become independent, and so there's talks underway now to figure out whether that will be accepted or not. Yes.
Okay.
You're like, hold on, we're gonna back up. This is a long story.
It depends what news do you read.
That's
okay, so a brief history. Kosovo was part of Yugoslavia, where Serbia was also part of it, and also a couple of other basically Slavic countries. Apart from Kosovo, all the other countries that were part of Yugoslavia were Slavic. We are the only Albanian majority country.
Okay.
And when I say Albanian, most of people will think that we are people from Albania, but we are the same. Like, they are Albanians and we are Albanians, and there are other people that surround both Kosovo and Albania territories who are Albanian by origin. So not from Albania, but they are Albanians themselves.
Yes.
So far I think that's clear. So and then when Yugoslavia started dismantling, if I can use that term, so with each of the other republics divorcing, kind of, and Serbia fighting with each of them because it was under Milosevic regime that they started like having this claim that Serbs are like the kind of the chosen people, and they are the smartest and the bravest and all. So they started fighting against everybody, against the Slovenians, against Croatians, against Bosniaks, and finally against Albanians in Kosovo. They didn't fight only against Macedonians and against Montenegrins. So with Montenegro and with now North Macedonia, they had a very peaceful divorce, if I can call it so. So in 1998, 1999, that was when like the war happened. Of course, that there were several like incidents and several small like fightings and all before that between the Kosovo Liberation Army and the Serbian forces. However, like the big one, the big exodus, where almost like almost like 1 million people were expelled from their houses. Albanian people were expelled from their houses, and then they had to leave everything behind. And then they most of them were walking towards Albania, like for days, for miles, towards Albania, towards Montenegro, towards Macedonia. And then they had to live in refugee camps with not even the basics provided, because there were so many people and it was not possible to have even enough bread and all. I was not a refugee myself. My family only was an internally displaced family just for like 4 nights, and then we went back to my home because we heard all of this, how people are actually suffering in those refugee camps. So we were like, between dying because of hunger and dying because you are shot, at least we are getting shot, so let's stay at home. So why die of hunger? So actually we stayed at home. And then NATO started bombing Serbian points of interest, and then they made this deal, and then Serbian forces left, and the KFOR, which is actually the how do you call it, like military forces of NATO, are here. They are still here in Kosovo, protecting the Kosovo borders. And then, if I remember correctly, we did have like some temporary government at the beginning. However, we still have a UN mission here in Kosovo, which was supposed to be temporary, but it's still here 21 years after. And Then we had our local elections, we had our government, we have our parliament where we have 120 MPs, 20 are from minorities. We do have the minority rights, like Serbian language is official throughout the country, although only like about 5% of the population is Serbs. And then in some municipalities, if they have like 10% of a certain minority, their language is also official. Like in the city of Prizren, they have 5 official languages in the city. So, but overall, we have two official languages: Albanian and Serbian. So then we have these elections and all. However, even in after 2008, when Kosovo declared its independence, and even after in 2010, when the International Court of Justice declared that this has not violated any international laws, Serbia still does not recognize Kosovo. And they have started these kind of, initially it was technical talks when they did some agreements, which mostly were not implemented by Serbia. For instance, there are Albanian people in Serbia who who like attend their studies here in Pristina, in our university, and their diplomas are not recognized in Serbia. So they can finish their studies and they cannot find a job there. Although there is an agreement on this, that Serbia has to accept it, has to recognize them, but they don't. And other things. So if I want to go to Serbia with my car, I cannot enter with my car plates. I have to take some temporary car plates, like a piece of paper, and then remove my car plates, which they don't do when they enter Kosovo. So there are lots of things, and the reason why I said depends on what news you are reading is because Kosovo politicians describe it as a process which will reach mutual recognition. We recognize Serbia, they recognize us, and then we move towards as two independent countries. Serbian leaders, on the other hand, say that we are not ever going to recognize Kosovo. We are just pushing. They are pushing for some association of Serbian municipalities. We do have municipalities as like we have central level and then local level, and local level is municipalities. Mm-hmm. They want to have an association of Serbian municipalities, although we do have an association of municipalities which include all the 38 municipalities in Kosovo, but they want to have something separate, which one of the current opposition parties calls it as Republika Srpska, which is in Bosnia. If you know a little bit of Bosnia and Herzegovina, they have like 3 parliaments. They have a Bosniak parliament, they have a Croatian parliament, they have a Serbian parliament, and then they have this Republika Srpska, which is basically managed by Serbia and by their leaders. So we are afraid that this association will be technically Republika Srpska within Kosovo, which is we don't want another Bosnia. Basically, one Bosnia is enough in Balkans. We don't want another one. And so the talks are kind of confusing because initially there was this Richard Grenell, the U.S. ambassador, former U.S. ambassador in Germany, who was trying to bring together the Kosovo leaders and Serbian leaders and have this agreement. And he was saying that this is only to develop economy and economic cooperation between the countries. But our leaders were explaining it differently, and then Serbian leaders explaining it differently. So right. Yeah, I think they are all speaking to their own electorate. Whatever their people want to hear, they are saying this. There is lots of confusion what is really happening behind these talks, because now they are saying, so someone says it's political, someone says it's technical. They make all this thing about bringing mutual recognition. Some people say it's like we are only getting recognition from Serbia if we give away a part of our territory, which is in the north part of Kosovo, which is like North Mitrovica, which has lots of mines and minerals, and it has a big lake which provides water a big chunk of Kosovo territory. So it's very sensitive, and it's very it requires like a very deep research and checking. And also it all depends who do you listen to, and maybe also my point of view is biased because I'm an Albanian myself, and I can say it like this. If you ask a Serb, maybe you can get a different point of view.
Right.
But it has been 12 years since Kosovo declared its independence. It has been 21 years since the Serbian forces are not here. But still, it's very difficult for Serbs who live here to just accept the reality and move on. It's like it's better, like, you know, it's better if you just accept where you are. It's like kind of a COVID situation. Accept that there is a virus, take the precautions, use the mask and the gloves, and wash your hands, and it will pass. It's like, for people, I think it's just important to have a good job, to have good health, and to not be afraid of what will happen. We did have some days ago, we had some military forces of Serbia entering our territory.
Okay.
Like entering Kosovo in one of the villages in the in like eastern part of Kosovo, in a village, and they entered like quite inside the village where people see them. And to have lived in a time when those people were killing and murdering and raping and massacring your people, it's not a good feeling. It's not a good situation to see them back again. It's like seeing the perpetrators of crime there again, and it will bring back the feelings of war and the feelings of terror. So
right.
It's really sensitive. It's very, very sensitive.
Sure. Yeah. And I mean, I think I've said this a couple of times on these shows because I'm like learning about all these different areas, which I didn't know much about, but it's like, I think people underestimate how long that sort of lives inside of you, or sticks with you. You know, this is like very recently, right? But like when we're talking about sort of the US and especially like the Black Lives Matters movement, you know, they're still sort of seeing oppression today, but the sort of like, you know, core slavery is maybe not around anymore, but they're like, you know, just adaptations to that. And it's like some people will be like, oh, they need to get over it, right? And I'm like, well, you can't really do that. You can't say that. It's like it will always have that effect on you until it's taken care of, or until some sort of like peace is made. You'll always have that sort of like remember.
Yeah. Yeah, it's. I mean, yeah, it has only been 21 years since the war. So basically, there are generations now that have never been through it. However, there are people like my generation that we lived through it.
Right.
I mean, yes, I was young, but I still have memories of war, and then I still have those feelings of how it felt to be stopped by police, by Serbian police, how it felt to pass by their police station during the wartime.
Right.
How it felt to see them, like when they were leaving the country, when they were leaving Kosovo in 1999, they were actually going with those tanks and like all those machinery they had, and passing through my neighborhood, and me and my brothers and my cousins, as stupid kids we went there, and we were like, democracy, like, and
right.
and one of them was like doing this, like, we will cut your throat. And it's like, we at that time we were not really understanding that they could have just shot at us. Like, okay, they were leaving, but they could have just done some more casualty before they go. So it's not easy, and it's not possible to just erase those memories from your head. So and also peace and reconciliation happens only when people accept what they have done and apologize for that.
Right.
And only then you can move on. So if you don't accept it, if you don't acknowledge what you have done, you cannot move on. I mean, I cannot forgive you if you never ask for forgiveness. Yeah. It's like, even at personal level, it's like, if I have something with you and you don't ask for forgiveness, I cannot forgive you. Like, how can I forgive you for something you are not asking forgiveness? Like, you don't think you did wrong. So that's what happened. So yeah, like, there are Serbs who do acknowledge it. There are Serbs who know that what their government has done, and they are sorry about it. However, the government as a whole, like the government of Serbia, does not acknowledge it, and their president now has been part of Milosevic's regime. So it's like it has not changed. Like the names have changed, but the way of governing has not changed.
Yeah, I feel that is something that, you know, everyday citizens everywhere are struggling with right now, which is why I think you're seeing, you know, like COVID was a thing that kept us inside and like sort of like had us pent up. But really, like some of these demonstrations, even if people are like, oh, we're protesting the fact that COVID was totally botched, like the healthcare system was totally botched, there's a lot under that as well, because everyday people are like, these names are changing, but the regimes are the same, and the way they're treating both their citizens and citizens outside of, you know, the borders. And so I think this feels like a very big movement, like all around the world, these sort of like protests. And I'm hoping that something, I don't know what comes out of it, but I'm hoping something good comes out of it, you know? But
That's all.
yeah.
That's also, but certain governments don't care if people protest. So
Yeah, I mean, that is for sure. That is for sure.
I thought you can keep protesting. We will just move on with our agenda.
Right.
We will get rich ourselves, and you go on protest. Who cares?
Yeah. Okay, so thank you so much for going through that. That was amazing. And I think like a lot of people that I know probably do not know this history and do not know this kind of stuff. So this is very helpful. I'm going to lighten it a little bit. So I would love to talk about.
I was not prepared for that. Let's do it.
Yeah, sorry. I hope I didn't ruin your day by being like, hey, walk me through this very traumatic experience you had. So apologies in advance. But I want to talk about Kosovo, and like, I looked on Google Street View a little in some of the mountains and lakes and waterfalls, and it just looks beautiful. It's been interesting to see how little Google Street View is in some of these countries. Like there's less roads that you can sort of explore. So walk me through, like, if I was there, what would we do together? And what are the great things to do in Kosovo?
Yeah, that's true. You cannot really find lots of things on Google Maps about Kosovo, because I think they have not done the recording, the screening of the country itself. And also because even in Google, you can still see like Kosovo is like kind of part of Serbia, but not really, which is also another thing that we struggle with.
Right.
But yeah, and you mentioned it. We don't have a sea. We are a landlocked country. Unfortunately, we don't have a sea here, but we do have lakes. We do have beautiful mountains where you can go to. We do have small cities. We do have towns. Basically, our cities, what we call them, are our towns by your your language. It wouldn't be a city. It's not like Chicago city. It's more like Evanston, or more like Austin, Texas. Not even that's still a city. But yeah, we do have plenty. And the good thing about Kosovo is that you can move around quite easily. If you have a car, that's of course the easiest way, but also we have public transportation in between cities, so you can go to. It's cheap to travel or inexpensive. I have been accused for using the word cheap. So inexpensive, affordable travel. And you can go from east to west in, let's say, like in 3 hours. You can cover like south to north again, like in 3-4 hours. And then the other thing is that if you get bored, then you can go for a weekend to Albania, and then they do have a seaside. Or you can go to Macedonia, and then you can also like spend some hours there in their lakes, or do something. However, we do have plenty of things to do inside Kosovo, be it historical sites. You can go to Prizren, which has the House of Prizren League, which was basically the house where the Albanian dignitaries of that time of the 19th century gathered to to come up with a way how to fight against the Ottoman Empire. So it is a beautiful house in Prizren where you can go and visit. Or if you talk about more recent history, you can go to this village of Prekaz, where basically the war of 99 happened, where again going back to the sad memories, there was almost a whole family, men, women and kids, who were killed by the Serbian forces because they were fighting each other, but even kids were killed. So now you can go and visit that. Or you can go and visit like old settlements of Roman time, only like 20 minutes drive from Pristina. Or you can go and visit a cave, which is an old cave, and it's beautiful. Again, it's like 20-25 minutes drive from Pristina. Or you can go and have some nice wine in one of the most rich wine regions of Kosovo. You can go to Rahoves, or you can go to Suhareka, like two different big places which produce their own wines. Or you can go and have some nice beer. Like, or you can go skiing if you come during winter. We do have some nice ski places, ski resorts where you can go. You can go to Brezovica, or you can go to Brod, or you can go to Preval. So if you are a big fan of skiing of winter, which I'm not, you can also come for winter holidays in Kosovo. And then we do have lots of festivals. We do have lots of events. For a small country, there is a lot happening in normal times, not now under COVID, unfortunately. And you can also just experience the hospitality of people, of Albanians here. It's like, if you are a foreigner especially and you kind of seem confused or lost, people will come and ask, like, do you need help? Or if you ask someone for anything, like any help, then people, if they know themselves, they will tell you, and if they don't know, then they will ask someone and then they will come back with the answer to you. Or if you need to go somewhere or call someone, they will lend you their phone so you can make that call and all. And so we do have lots of nice small coffee places where you can go and just hang out and talk to people and get all the gossip in, of course. But you have nice macchiato and nice coffees and good night life and all. So there is plenty to do, and most of travelers miss on all this because they just come to tick off Kosovo on their list. They come for a day trip from Skopje and then they go back, or they just pass through Pristina on the way to Prizren and then Albania. So like 1-2 days, you don't really get to experience everything in 1 or 2 days.
That's
so you do more.
Yeah. You had mentioned I think a documentary film festival at one time. Like, tell me a little bit more about that. That's in Prizren, right?
Yeah, that's in Prizren. That's called DokuFest. Actually, it's one of the biggest cultural events in Kosovo in normal times at this time, because it started on 7th. At this time, everybody is in Prizren. Everybody is attending DokuFest because it has documentaries, it has films, it has short films produced by either like known producers, or they also have these that are produced by students, by children. They have events for kids, they have events for young people, they have docu talks where they have different panels and they discuss different important topics. They have docu nights where you can go and party under different kind of music, and it's also a nice place to go, not just because of the Doc Fest, but because you can see all that liveliness, all those people just enjoying their life and going around, not bothering about politics, not bothering about anything, just walking by the river, having some nice coffee or nice food in Prizren, climbing up to the castle, which provides a perfect view of the city, and just it's very lovely. But unfortunately, due to COVID, this year DokuFest has gone online, so you can still attend it, but from your couch. You don't have to drive there, but you can
doing things on the couch. Right?
Yeah. So yeah, the Doku Path is one of the places to be. So
I'll have
if you
to,
were here in Kosovo, I think we would have been there.
yeah, that you said that's happening like right now, the
Mhm.
DocuFest. I'll have to check out some of that online.
Yeah.
If I can view it, that would be great. I also, because you had mentioned this on our first call, when we were sort of chatting, there's a statue of Bill Clinton in, I can't remember what city it's in though.
It's here in Pristina. It's in
Okay.
the capital. Hmm.
Okay, yeah. So I I looked it up on Google Street View, but like tell me why that's there. It seems like for me I'm like that is so odd.
Okay. Because during the Kosovo War, Bill Clinton was your president, and he had a very important role in activating NATO to bomb Serbia and technically to end ethnical cleansing that was happening, and also to end the war here. And that's why Kosovo Albanians have a very high consideration for Americans and for the US. Even now, when you have Trump as a president, Albanians in Kosovo have a very high acceptance of US politics and a very high, how to say, acknowledgement
Mm,
because we always say that US helped us when we were in need, so we do appreciate it, and then we do keep that in mind, and
right.
do yeah we still appreciate that. So that's why you have a Bill Clinton statue there. It's not the best one. Lots of people don't like it because it's kind of small, and it's but it's an attraction. It's a tourist attraction, so
Yeah, I saw like when I was searching like best things to do in Kosovo, it's like the Bill Clinton statue. I'm like, that is just seems very odd to go see, but no, it's kind of interesting. So yeah, before we sort of wrap up, this has been an amazing conversation, but I want to make sure to ask everybody, and I know you've sort of touched on this, but what is one stereotype of people from Kosovo that you would like to combat, or even the country at large?
Hmm. There are many, but uh, I think okay. One which I find personally not offensive, but one of the stereotypes, although it's not bad, but whenever I travel, whenever people see that I'm from Kosovo, they will ask me if I speak Serbian, or or
Okay.
they will start talking to me in Serbian. So Kosovo is 94% Albanian, and our mother tongue is Albanian, which has nothing to do with Serbian.
Mhm.
So it is like Serbian is Cyrillic, it's Slavic language. Albanian has its own branch into the Indo-European languages. So that's one which is everywhere. It's like
Yeah.
either do you speak Serbian, or if Kosovo is in Russia. So
Yeah.
this is one of the things. Um, and one more thing is that lots of people think that Kosovo Albanians are criminals or drug dealers or in the mafia and all, which is not true. I mean, every country, every nation has its bad apples, as your president says, but that doesn't mean that everybody is a bad apple. So you have mafia and you have bad people and criminals from all the countries. So you always have to give a chance to the person and get to know the person, not based on the nationality.
Right. Yeah. In asking about this stereotype question, it's so interesting to me because some of them are pretty neutral. So it's like in France, it was like, oh, we drink a lot of wine, which is not really a negative one, right? But not everybody drinks wine in France. But it's like, yeah, but like everybody just drinks wine. Like it's not just a French thing, right? And everybody drinks wine. Everybody sort of has. Every country has criminals and people who do bad things, but every country also has people who do great things and would help you if you were stuck or lost, like what you were saying. So,
But one more, if I can say
yeah,
that
totally.
also, that uh, people think we are a Muslim country, and then
Okay.
they kind of associate us with Muslim, ISIS, and all these uh, extremism. Yes, it is true that we are portrayed as mostly Muslim, but we are Muslim who drink wine and beer and raki, which is a kind of a brandy, and we don't cover ourselves, and we do go to bars, and uh, we have intercourse before marriage, which is again not allowed by the religion. So we are like light Muslims or nominal Muslims. So, and this is more traditional, more cultural response. When you ask what religion are you, then we actually practice it. So
yeah, for sure. I definitely think Muslims in general have such a stereotype over them that like there's so many different types of Muslims, and even, you know, even people who are very practicing does not mean they sort of should be labeled terrorists, right? But that is something that they have to deal with quite a bit.
yeah, because you have extremism in all religions, unfortunately. So
Totally, yeah. Cool. This was such an amazing conversation. Again, thank you so much for doing this.
thanks.
And then I hope to see you so very soon in person.
I hope so. I hope so.
Yeah.
Let's get this COVID end, and then let's see.
Yes, I would love for you to show me around Kosovo, please.
I would love to have you over.
Okay. All right. I'll talk to you later. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care.